Get everything ready. Hello. How is everyone? It's been ages. So we're basically going to go through with you today, like some of the rumors that you may have heard about results day and grades being adjusted downwards, it being the best results day ever. Well, we have a whole bunch of questions basically that we're going to be going through and giving you what the actual facts are about them. We're also doing another live on Wednesday at 6 o'clock for those, mostly for year 13s, about how you can prepare for results day on Thursday. So giving you an action plan. Obviously, if everything goes your way and you get the grades, then you have a very simple Thursday and a very happy Thursday. If things don't go your way, it can be stressful and you want to be a bit prepared just to know what's going on. So you know what to do, who to phone, all the right action steps to take. Okay, so Ronnie, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. It's really nice to see all your names. It makes me realise that I've missed seeing you all every week. It feels like it's been ages. How long has it even been? What even month is it? Is it August? I don't know how long we didn't see you for, but it feels like ages and ages. And I can't believe that already it is, 3 days before the results. And yeah, I just have no idea what Thursday is going to be like. It's going to be the most weird Thursday results day ever. But I've got fingers crossed for you all, and we are going to be here, well, today certainly talking you through some really important things that we know about what's happening on Thursday and what's going to happen after Thursday and what's going to happen in the next 3 days. And also we're going to be here Wednesday night, are we, Rich?
Wednesday, 6 p.m.
Yeah, so we will be here to help and advise you over the next week should you need us. And then if hopefully not, but if you do need to take those exams in October, then we are completely all set up and ready to go to guide you through that process day by day.
Yeah, we were just actually talking about our exambulance, and that's all going to be included with all the TT membership. So anyone with a membership will have full access to the exambulance, all the MIDs and like structure and us supporting you along the way. So yeah, if that's something you're looking forward to, then check out the memberships. But we're not here to talk about that today. Basically, Rich, I mean, you put a lot of the information behind this together. Shall we start at the top and work our way down? Well, let's open the questions to the audience first and just see what are any questions you've got about results day, any myths or things that you might have heard about, whether that's appealing, whether that's when you can do the autumn exams, whether that's whether the grade results are going to be rounded down. So what questions do you have that you're not totally sure what's true or what's rumor? Send them through and we will basically be able to answer them for us. Anything we don't cover in our pre-prepared stuff, we'll tack on at the end. Okay, so appealing, all that kind of stuff coming through. I think if we start with our list, Rich, we'll do the top three because that's going to cover the major ones, I'm sure. And then we'll keep the questions coming in. We'll try and gather all the ones that do come through that we haven't answered and deal with them at the end. So T-Boy, that definitely will be covered.
Yep. So, I mean, T-Boy's already asked and Hasnain already asked, like, how do you appeal? Don't worry, we'll get to that. There's just been so much media surrounding, media coverage surrounding these results, obviously, because this is unprecedented. It's never happened before. And the media, right? They like to stir things up. There's never like the middle ground story because that's boring. They want to make people panic one way or panic the other. So the first one is that it was a Guardian, and I'm sure it was in other papers as well, but A-level grades this year are to be adjusted downwards. So they basically said that, whatever grades the teachers put forward will be downgraded. Now, is that true or false? That is 100% true, okay? But, okay, and there is a massive but to this, and it is the fault of the paper for not actually following this up, is that the teachers' predicted grades are always way above what students get on average, okay? So when they make you predicted grades, teachers know you, they want you to do well. They're going to give you decent predicted grades. Of course they are. They want to err on the side of caution. It's safer to predict you a little higher than what they really think. Now, of course, the exam boards couldn't actually allow that to happen because this year, everyone's results would be way higher than all the previous years if they just took all the teachers' grades at face value. They do take those grades, but then they look at your school and the kind of past data for that school as well. So if the school hasn't had an A grade in chemistry for 10 years, yet they predicted everybody A's and B's, course, they need to look at the past data to see how good a delivery mechanism that school is. So yes, they will be downgraded, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a lower grade than you deserve. It probably means you're going to get the grade you deserve. So that is true, but it's absolutely nothing to panic about.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in the same way that they didn't just, the whole reason we've had this calculated grade system, they could have just accepted your predicted grade, your UCAS predicted grade. But they're wildly inflated. They're about 20% or so higher than the actual grades that come out every single year when the students do the exams. The teachers' sort of calculated grades this year were a little bit more considered and a little bit more conservative, but they were still about 10 to 12%. If they'd have given you the grades the teachers have given you this year, it would have been about 10 to 12% improvement on last year. And that improvement in a single year has never, ever happened. So that we know that the predicted grades from the teachers were still better than you were going to have got. And so they have been rounded down, but to a level to bring it more in line with what a normal A-level year would be like. Otherwise, what would happen is that you guys would get the 12% inflated grades, but you would also be known as the school of 2012, the year group of, the 2020, who, well, that was easy. Everyone got A's that year just because the grades were all screwed up by the teachers. And then everyone, no matter what grade you got this year, would have been devalued. So it's actually quite important that the results this year are consistent with all the other years. Otherwise, you will get like a black name against your year, because everyone in that year will be given to give an easy ride, basically.
The downgrading is not going to affect you in any way. I know there's been a lot of news in the last 48 hours or more about Scotland and how poorer students were downgraded more than more affluent areas and so on and so forth. I think Ronnie's just hit the nail on the head in the chat there, that, I mean, it is a fact that in more affluent areas, schools tend to get better results, maybe better teachers or, a better school in general than in less affluent areas. But then, the less affluent areas are still predicting high grades compared to the other ones, but their historical data is going to be lower, if that makes sense. So it's not a direct attack on, oh, that school's in a poor area or that school's in an affluent area. It's just based on their historic data, and that's it. There's no underlying anything, but underneath it. Is it going to affect your results? Well, everyone's going to be affected in widely the same way. At the end of the day, what I was saying earlier today on Instagram was, it doesn't matter what those letters on that bit of paper are, maybe for your own pride, as long as it gets you into the university you want to get to, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Number two, I would say that there has been another report, probably about the same time as the one said they were downgraded, that A-level results are going to be higher this year. That is also likely to be true, purely because it's not a perfect system. And what they will do is probably still err on the side of caution and downgrade probably a little less than they normally would. I would expect A-level results on the whole to be higher than in previous years. Not by much, but you can look at the data for Scotland. There was a report on the BBC that shows, like, these are the predicted grades. These are the grades that normally happen on average, maybe from the last couple of years. And here's this year's grades, which lie in between them. So it's higher than previous years, but lower than what predicted grades teachers would be kicking out. So the system is there, and we can talk about this for the next hour. But the fact remains that it's completely out of all of our hands now, isn't it? So I think we're just trying to dispel a couple of rumours here and just try and make sense of them for you. That's it.
Yeah, I'd say almost certainly this year's A-level results en masse will be the best results ever, despite the fact that no one did any exams. But I mean, they are not going to create, if the results this year were 2% worse or 1% worse than previous years, there will be absolute media storm, it's unfair, and lots of things going along those lines. So they will cover their own backs and make them better than they ever have been before.
But the other thing is, in the other direction, you guys don't want this year's results to be too inflated, because if the media come out on Thursday and say, I mean, to be honest, if you look back over the news articles the last, August the 14th, whatever it was, that Thursday, the last few years, going back even 20 years, every single year, one of the headlines is pretty much every year, best results ever, because something's the best results ever. And there's some way of looking at it, either the value added's higher, or the A grades are higher, or the A to C grades are higher, or the A to E grades are higher, or something's higher. And it's a really good splashy article for people to put in the newspapers, best results ever, da, 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 da. Now, yes, Rich is completely right that if the results hadn't this year been good or the best ever, then there would be an absolute outcry, and fair enough. But equally, if the results are too inflated, if people start to think that this cohort, your cohort, somehow had it easy, that you didn't even take the exams, you didn't even finish the course, you got higher grades than anybody else would have done, then you're carrying that around with you whenever you write that grade down. You're carrying around that sort of reputation that you didn't really earn it. So from your point of view, you don't actually want to be crossing your fingers for ridiculously inflated grades or much higher than usual, because you want this grade to reflect your learning and to be as valid as last year's cohort and next year's cohort. So try to bear all that in mind. And also a few people saying just stress at the moment. I can't even begin to imagine how you're all feeling, but it is really, really important to remember that this is in context of every single person in this whole setup wanting you to get into university. The universities want you there, the schools want you there, the government wants you there. It's just like the logistics of organising it. And I think that on Thursday, we're going to have an awful lot of very relieved and very happy people.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. And somebody's just asked, Samira was just asking, do you think unis would be more flexible? That was my number 3. So there was another news report saying that this year, the universities are going to be more open to haggling than ever. And that is absolutely true. As far as we're concerned, obviously we don't represent the universities, just make that clear. But everything we've seen from universities so far indicates that they are vying for students. They always want you there anyway. All right? Without students, there's no tuition fees, and no tuition fees, there's no uni. So they do want you in. Let's not forget that. And as Ronnie just said, everybody's behind you. The universities want you to go. The government certainly don't want you complaining or off qual or the exam boards or anything like that. So everything is geared up to get you to go to university this year. So it is true that this year, in fact, more than any other year, you are in a better position to haggle for your place. So let's say you missed out on your first choice university by 1 grade and UCAS track just goes, no, sorry, you've been declined. Call them up, okay? Call them up and haggle yourself. Don't get your mum to do it. Don't get your teacher to do it. You've got to do it yourself. And just speak to them and just say, well, how many places are on the course? And especially if you had an interview and you can remember the person who interviewed you, so just make sure that you're able and willing to do that, okay? It's always worth a shout. Always worth a shout. And when you think about it this year, and Ronnie and I, I'm sure we talked about this, that there's so many international students that go to our English and our British universities. Are they going to be coming this year? Probably not. So these universities are not only kind of vying for your attention because of COVID and everything, but because they're not getting many international students either. That means more places for you guys. So just bear that in mind. So, the kind of, you're holding all the cards here, all right, come results day. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So haggle your way into university if you can. And sometimes, you know what, if you're way out, then, if you kind of missed out on all 3 grades, then maybe not. But it's always worth a phone call, right? So that's absolutely true. Haggle away, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like another possible sort of, we can talk about the fairness and the distribution of where the grades are going to go and whether private schools or affluent schools are going to do better than poorer schools. Another potential area where an inequality may be lived out is because those probably more affluent students are more likely to pick up the phone and argue harder and sort of put their weight behind their argument to get into that university. So all we can say is that if things don't go your way, you're not quite on the right side of the grade line, then do pick up the phone yourself. And we're going to be doing, that's going to be the basically the meat of our YouTube live on the Wednesdays. If you wanted some advice on how to do that, but this year more than ever, pick up the phone, call the admission secretaries, and like argue the case for why you should be there. They want to accept you. You've just got to give them the case that you are the student for them.
Absolutely. And Elizabeth raised a good question. If you're about next year, if you're thinking of taking a gap year, whatever happens this year, it's not going to affect next year. It's going to run in exactly the same way next year, but of course with actual exams, hopefully, and actual results. So, you know, this process won't change. In fact, I think UCAS have improved the process because of this, and it's going to benefit you next year as well, if anything else. So that would be my take on that one.
Okay, shall we move on? I think we should try and do a bit more rapid fire.
Yeah. Rani, do you want to talk about the appeals process?
Sorry?
Would you like to talk about the appeals process?
Well, the appeal, okay, in a nutshell, originally there was announced that there wasn't going to be an appeals process. The normal appeals process is an individual student on an individual paper saying, I want it remarked. And then that goes to a senior examiner who remarks the paper. And then whether you go up or down, that's your mark. Obviously, that can't happen this year because you didn't do individual papers. So originally it was like no appeals, but now that's been changed. And the latest information is that your school will be able to appeal based on the fact that the last 3 years results, the value added results from the last 3 years, are not reflective of how they expected your cohort to do. So that's how they're appealing. That's the appeal thing, or there's been an administrative error. But you can't appeal saying, I think that like my school's grades overall are fine and there was no administrative error. They did think I would be midway down, but I don't think I should have got a C, I should have got a B. That's not going to be possible. Does that mean it's complicated? But basically you won't be appealing to Ofqual or to the exam boards. You would be talking to your school, and your school would decide whether or not they think there's been an error, or whether they think that the statistics that we use to generate the school's results were somehow incorrect or flawed.
Yeah, essentially there will be no individual appeals. If you are unhappy with the grade that you are given, you can say, was there a clerical error? Did you put a 3 in the spreadsheet instead of putting a 5 in the spreadsheet, and you ranked me in the wrong place somehow? If that's the case, the school, and not your responsibility, the school can say, we gave you the result, our data was wrong, can you please update our data? That's one possibility, but that's the only possibility in terms of, but the school must be in charge of handling that, and it's basically a clerical admin error. Or if the school as a group say that I think all of our results, every single one of our students in biology don't look right, then they can appeal. Maybe Ofqual have made an administrative error and they can appeal that data set. But again, that's all done at the school level. Nothing you can do about that as an individual. The only, well, does that take us on to the next one, Rich? I can't remember what our next point is on the list.
US track updating, no. So
what is, shall we move on to what the student can do if they don't like their grade? Is that, or do you want to follow the list?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that's part of our action plan for, for when, isn't it, talking about how all that works and stuff. But I think there's one question that links to it. I think Ronnie's answered it actually. It's like, are we going to get lower results this year because of this? And it's like, no. In fact, we think this year more students are going to get into their first or insurance choice than any other year. I think that's going to happen because of this. But yeah, I think
just to finish that off, just as an individual student, if you don't get the grade that you want, then your only chance of overturning that grade as an individual is to do the exams in October. But that will come with its own consequences of probably not, almost certainly not going to university this academic year.
There is an important comment here from Mariam. I've heard that we can email schools and request to see our ranking. I know that before the ranking was sent to the exam boards, it was categorically stated that schools were not allowed to reveal either the calculated grade that they'd sent to the exam boards or the ranking of the students. And I think that's kind of fair on schools to say that they don't have to reveal that, but I don't know about after the results. I don't know whether the school is required to provide you with your ranking, or maybe it's required to provide you with the information that was used to obtain your ranking. I don't know. And I think that will probably be something that is decided above school level. So schools will be told what information they can give out and what information they can't give out.
Yeah. And I think one other thing I think links to this as well is Noah was asking, so many people deferring this year, is it going to make it more competitive next year? There will be some people that defer for next year. There will be some people that don't get into a university they want based on their results, but that happens every year, and then they just reset the following year. The October exams are just an earlier opportunity for them to do that. So nothing's really changed. There's always going to be students that miss out on grades, decide they just want to do it themselves again and try again next year. I don't think that will change. In fact, there's probably going to be fewer of those this year than ever before. In terms of the October exams, hopefully they go ahead. There may be a second wave. We don't know anything about that. We haven't got a crystal ball. But it's not going to make it more competitive next year. And in fact, universities have been making moves to try and discourage students from doing that. They would rather kind of move on a grade or two and let you in on their course now, this year, if your only other option is to go, well, I'm just going to defer for a year and go next year. They want you in this year. That is a fact. And they've even stopped some people from deferring as well. So they actually said, some universities and courses said, no defers. If you want to defer to next year, you have to do the exams and you have to go out through UCAS again. So they're making students do that rather than just go, no, I'll just wait a year and go because it'll be better next year. And if given the opportunity, and I'm sure, Rich and Ronnie would agree with me, if you've got the opportunity to go this year, you should absolutely go 100%. If it's because, no, there's no freshers week or teaching's not going to be as good, that's definitely not true. Okay, you're not going to put your life on hold for a year because you're going to have a couple of less labs a week, or you're not going to get a week of partying with freshers. So it's a bit of a silly decision to make that, isn't it? But yeah, everything points to getting everyone in this year. It's not going to have an impact next year. I don't think it's going to have an impact next year.
Okay, so we're up to number 5 on our list, UCAS track.
Yes. So.
Go on. I'll take this one. So UCAS track updates at midnight. Anyone heard that as a rumor out there? This is not true. The UCAS track will be updated at 8 a.m. in the morning. So you might be up past midnight anyway, but don't stay up late, especially just trying to see if you can hit refresh at 12:01 on that page. So you may as well get some sleep and get up early in the morning. That's the soonest you're going to be able to find out about your grades. Essentially, that's the headline details there. Rich, anything to add to that?
No, not really. It's just that vicious rumor that comes through every year, isn't it? It's like if you wait up late enough and maybe it updates early. No, it updates at 8 o'clock. And in fact, sometimes you might not see it at 8 o'clock. It'd be a huge undertaking for all universities to make sure everything was in place at 8. They need to review things. They're going to be on the phone to students. Things might change as time goes on, but fingers crossed, hopefully when you log into track at 8 o'clock or maybe 5 past, because every man and his dog's going to be logging into UCAS at exactly the same time to try and find those results. But yeah, don't stay up all night. It happens at 8 o'clock. You basically will see whether your first or second choices come through for you. You don't see your grades. The only place you can get those is your college or your school.
Okay, so another rumor that you can only look at clearing on Thursday. So from results day onwards, that's the only time that clearing is available for you to start looking. Again, not true. Just to be nice and clear, you can start looking at clearing now, right now, from the 6th of July, clearing is open. Not every option, more options do become available. It is a fluid and changing thing. So that doesn't say just check it now and then forget about it. So you can keep checking in with it, but it's highly recommended over the next couple of days before results day. If you want a bit of peace of mind, if you're really not sure about getting your first choice or your insurance choice, then you can have a look at some of the other potential options. There are lots of good courses from good universities, similar to the course that you will be doing or have applied to do in clearing, and you can take a look at them and just browse them, give yourself a little bit of comfort. Well, if things don't go my way, maybe there's this course that I like, but this university that I like. It gives you some options to have some backup plans.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you don't want to be there in a blind panic. not having a plan, which is what Wednesday is going to be about. We're going to be talking more about clearing on Wednesday night and exactly how it works. But you can absolutely just eye up some other courses or universities. It might be similar courses at the same university. It might be, the same course at a slightly different university. So it's worth just doing due diligence and just checking it out yourself beforehand. So at least you know what's going to be, what your options are going to be and what you prefer to find in clearing. And it is competitive, which is why it pays to be on the ball when you need to go into it. So that's what we recommend you do over the next couple of days, guys.
There was a question about...
Sorry, Rich, can I just quickly say, few people talk, oh yeah, the medicine one is important, but few people mentioning clearing again, just to remind you all for clearing. Clearing is a competition amongst universities to get students. That's the way to think about it. It's not students trying to get a place at uni, which is how you think about it. It's all of the universities trying to get the best students. So they want you. And that's what you need to remember. Not like you need to make decisions. You can't say, well, I'll get back to you in a week and let you know what I think. But you do need to remember that you're a valued thing in terms of what the university says. And you should remember that when you're phoning around and when you're making your decisions, that you are valued and you shouldn't feel like you're begging, because you're not.
Yeah, and sometimes you get the odd medicine, dentistry, veterinary place come up through clearing. They're less common for sure than other courses. Occasionally you do. There was a comment there from Yasmin, I think, about there's occasionally like St. George's, Westminster occasionally have a few places through clearing. So there can be. That was a question from Mo, who asked about what if you miss your grades for medicine. Well, you've got a few options. You can do the October exams, or another question that I just saw previously, you don't have to do the exams in October. If you're year 13, you don't get your grades, you want to do the exam, you can do them next year. You can do them in June next year. And certainly the exams in October will not be counted as a retake. If you do the exams in October because you don't like your calculated grade, that's not a retake. And some medicine courses sort of look down a little bit upon sort of retakes. Do we know what happens if they choose to do the exams in next June instead of in October? Would they be considered a retake, or would they just be considered the exam? We don't know. So we'll write a list of questions down to do a bit more digging. Basically, the information isn't out there, and we've done lots of research on this, but
I would imagine they have stated that Octobers are not going to be viewed as resits. And if you don't take the option in October, then I'm sure they would not see the June exams as resits. Because if you literally haven't been to an exam room and done that exam already, it can't be a resit, right? So I think common sense would prevail, and I don't think they would class it as a resit.
That would be my guess as well, but I don't know. There's a question there from Gina. How do you look at clearing right now? Is that through UCAS, your UCAS portal?
Say again, Rich. Sorry, I missed that.
How do they look at clearing right now? Is it public on the web, or is it via the UCAS portal?
Yeah, so you can just go on the UCAS website. So I had a look at it today, actually, and there's loads of stuff on there. So it's if you just go to UCAS, just Google search UCAS clearing, like all the ones that are listed. There's a lot that are listed there. The majority do come out on the day as the universities figure out what spaces they actually have got on certain courses. But there's a lot of courses out there right now that for students to look at on clearing just on the UCAS website.
Okay, great. A few other questions just rolling through about, I just lost it. Can you decline your insurance offer? Maybe we're going to be tackling this mostly on our Wednesday live for the results day action plan.
Sure, yes, but you will talk about it on Wednesday.
You can do that. Okay, let's move on our list, and then we'll take general questions that are left over at the air. So, Clearing Plus, Rich?
Number 7, Clearing Plus. So you've probably heard about Clearing Plus. It's a new thing this year. I think they were planning on doing it anyway, but I think they fast-tracked it because of COVID. So it's basically an autopilot for clearing. So based on your university choices and course choices, the kind of 5 or 6 that you put in previously, if you have missed out on your firm and your insurance choice, you are automatically put into this Clearing Plus, and you'll be given a list of the top courses that have places which match the criteria that you've previously put in. So if you were looking to do chemistry in Manchester, it'll look at courses like chemistry in Liverpool or other northern universities. It will try and match you with courses that are available that are most similar to the ones that you've already chosen. So that's really, really clever, but it will only appear if you have already missed out on your firm and insurance choices. If you, obviously if you get your firm, happy days. If you're on your insurance and you're like, I'm not sure whether I want to take that, you can decline that. And then only at that point will you be able to go into clearing and start looking around. But you have already made your bed at that point. You can't go poking around in clearing looking for something. Well, you could, I suppose, go in looking for something better rather than an insurance choice. But if you did, then why is that your insurance choice? You know, so you've done all your research and stuff on your insurance, and I would take it. But yeah, so that's going to be really, really helpful Clearing Plus for those of you. Hopefully, none of you guys in here will need that, but it will be there to help if you do.
Absolutely. And the kind of point 8, or the question number 8, is that clearing is just for students who get crap grades, and there's no good courses on there. That's often a myth that you hear around, and again, categorically not true. Every year there are courses for pretty much every university on pretty much every type of course going. So there are some amazing top quality courses for A grade students out there that can be achieved through clearing. It's not true that it's a second class way of going to university. That's not true. Every year, students will be optimistic with the grades they get. And in a normal year, when students actually do the exams, I don't know, I'm going to make up a percentage here, 15 to 20% of students don't get the grades that they were expecting. Not even the grades they were hoping for, but the grades that they were expecting. Some students do worse than that, of course, and therefore they don't get into their first choice, they don't get into their insurance. And so clearing is, it's a natural part of the admissions process, and there are all sorts of good quality courses and universities there. So it's not anything to be ashamed about or to be worried about.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think there's so many good courses on there. Even now, in fact, I had, like I said, a little poke around in there. So it's worth, as we mentioned before, going to have a look around in there. If you're nervous about it, it's going to form part of your action plan. Do that over the next couple of days. Last one. And obviously we'll open up to questions on the end, but last one we have is that you have to make a decision on clearing on the spot there and then. That's absolutely not true, okay? You can phone up as many universities as you want. I would make sure if you are trying to get a place on a clearing course, get verbal confirmation and ask them to send you an email saying so as well. They will send that confirmation through. And you can do that with as many universities as you want, but you are time limited. Each university is different. Some may give you to the end of the day, some may give you to the end of the week, but they want you to click accept on that course, okay? But only do that when you're sure. Do your research and stuff like that, but you do have a time limit, but you don't have to say, if you say yes to somebody on the phone, that's not a firm choice. You have to click it in track. That's what you have to do in order to accept a clearance place, and you can only accept one. So you can get your offers for clearing, get them all lined up, and then make your final decision at the end of it. But just beware, always ask, how long have I got to make my decision on this if they have made you an offer? But only when they've made you a verbal offer on the phone, or even better, an email, then you can get it on track and click accept. But you can look at as many as you like.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's going to be a busy period for you if you do want to have a look through clearing and try and look at all those different options. Get your different ducks in a row, maybe do a bit of research into the university, the town, or into that specific course. And then you can, once you've made your choice, you get the one click in track to accept that spot through clearing.
There's a question, I don't know the answer to this one. I'm guessing no, but do you have more of a chance of getting a place from clearing if you're on the waiting list?
Waiting list.
I heard of waiting list before.
What is the waiting list?
I didn't know what.
I would certainly say that if you've been in touch with that university and they have a record of you, then when you phone them up and they already had a record of you and maybe some notes on, your application, if you made an application or whatever, then maybe. but I've not heard of waiting list. That seems like under the table stuff, if you ask me, as opposed to like you guys.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Also, like if there's 100 places, as soon as 100 people have clicked the accept button on track, then that will be the places. If you're on a waiting list and all the spaces have gone, even if a waiting list exists, then yeah, it'll be the first 100 in for the 100 spaces available. So I don't know. Let us know what you mean by the waiting list, and maybe that's a special deal. You've had a conversation with the admissions secretary somewhere. What's definitely true is that universities will be desperate to get students to fill their courses, because if universities have 20% vacancies, they're already running on very tight budgets, and they will basically go into massive millions and millions of pounds worth of debt. And they do not want that, because that could end their university. So they are desperate to get students in. So there will be a lot of flexibility and a lot of movement through clearing if you don't get your grades. But the grades will be better than probably any year ever before. So we're not expecting it to be as disastrous as many of you might be feeling.
Yeah, that's it. And that fits in with what we were saying before about universities wanting students to get in. You might be accepted on your first choice, but then go and get your grades and think, well, they aren't the grades I needed to get into my first choice. The university would have already made the decision sometimes to just let you in anyway if you were missed out by one grade. But if they haven't, and you have just missed out, get your grades in your hand, get your personal statement at hand, and just remind yourself of it and give them a call and just say, look, are there any places on the course first and foremost? Is there any way I can still get on the course? They might ask you to come in for another interview. You just need to phone up and say, what do I need to do to get on the course? They might just tell you a flat no. And that's fine. You just move on to the next one. So you just got to have your wits about you, and you're not begging to get on a course. If there's no places, then there's no places. But I think if there is room and there's wiggle room for you to kind of barter, then you need to do that. And it's not easy, and especially someone in their late teens who hasn't necessarily had to do anything like that before. But you know what? They're there to help. They're always on your side. Just you're not going into the ring with, I don't know, Anthony Joshua or something. They want to help you. So just remember that when you phone.
Okay, so we're now just sort of take open questions. I think we haven't covered so far. I've seen a lot about payments. How much does it cost to resit? Will you have to pay if you do the autumn exams? Will you have to pay if you do the exams in June next year? I don't know whether you're going to know all the answers to this. In fact, let's start with, I don't think it's been announced whether you would have to pay to do the exams in October. Do either of us know?
I don't know whether you pay or not, whether the school pays or, someone pays.
Someone pays.
Normally the schools pay for your entry from their budget. But I would be surprised if students had to pay for the October ones. I think it would probably, I don't think that's going to happen.
Be more discrimination.
I think it would either be covered by the exam board themselves, or it would be covered by the school, but probably the exam board, probably the government would be my total guess. I'd be very surprised. But I think that if you take it next June, then probably you're going to be paying, because
I would assume so.
Your school can't pay because they haven't got any budget for you because you're not their student anymore. So maybe there'll be an offering.
What are the typical costs per exam?
Well, someone asked that, and I said it was about, I seem to remember it was £45 per paper, but yeah, I might be totally making that up. That might be the price for getting it remarked rather than the price for entry. Honestly, I don't know. The individual.
That was what was in my head, is around about £50 per paper, so that'd be about £150 per subject. Obviously, then you've got your TT membership to pay for that exam as well, but that's an additional, not mandatory cost. Okay, there was a couple of questions. Why don't we do physics? I saw we're kind of finding amazing teachers is a very time-consuming process. So if you have an amazing physics teacher you think would be a good fit for us, let them know. We would love to add a physics course. That's that. Do you do autumn exams at your school? Yeah, so you will be re-entered. I can't remember when is the deadline. There is a date by which you need to confirm, or the school needs to enter you for the exams, which will take place in October. Is it sometime in September? I think it's maybe the end of the first week of September.
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
I think it's the 4th of September, the deadline for entries for October.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you will confirm with your school or college that you were going to do the exams at, that you would like to do those October exams, and then they will enter you for those exams. 4th of September.
Oh, one of the things, Arash just asked a question about if you miss a grade, can you just resit that subject, or do you have to sit all three? You can just sit that one subject and keep your grades for the other two, but this is something that students often ask, not so much this year because you're just going to get a grade, but if, for example, you did badly on one paper of a subject, then you have to resit all the papers for that subject. You can't just resit paper 3 or whatever, but you can just keep your 2 subject grades that you've got and just reset the subject that you didn't want the grade for.
Yeah. One from Luca, if you don't make the clearing points, will you still be considered? So I suppose that you mean when you're looking through clearing and you haven't quite got those grades for that course, call them every single time. Don't send an email or anything like that. Just give them a ring and ask the question. They can only say no, right? And then you put the phone down, you try the next one. So it's always worth a conversation. But obviously, if it's like 2 or 3 grades higher than what you've got, then they're less likely to do that. So.
Do we have the dates of the weeks of the exams? It's October, I think the first 3 weeks. Yeah, October, something like the 5th to the 20th or something along those lines. That's just off my head. In terms of the window for when the results will be. Yeah, I think it's early October. Basically, I think it's the first 3 weeks of October is when you do the exams.
Questions, another one. Private candidate for next year, any provisions for us if exams were to be cancelled again? I don't think there is anything they can do. That was a kind of bone of contention this year with private candidates. Like, well, I can't get a predicted grade, so I can't actually be in the running for a calculated grade. And I think as a private candidate, what I would do is make sure that you've got some sort of tutor that can actually give you a predicted grade that has been monitoring you throughout that time. That's the only way that you can evidence what grade you've been working at, is actually by working with a physical tutor, I should imagine, and doing tests and things like that. That's the only way. It's not something we can do because obviously we're remote, but I think, it's not often I sing the praises of private tutors, but
sorry, Rich, what is that for? That private tutors would what?
So a private candidate,
yeah,
sitting the exams next year. So yeah, I would say if someone with a qualification who can independently assess where you're at throughout the year, do regular checking, do regular mocks, do a mock once a month, and then you can record all your grades, do them under exam conditions, and then you will have a good portfolio of weight of evidence of what your current grade is working at, how you're improving, and then you could get a professional to write you a statement to say this person will be, in my opinion, at this grade.
Wait, so this is for if next year it's the same thing happens again?
Yeah, it's a big
yeah, but that entirely depends on your school, because this year there were candidates who had private tuition all year who got the teacher to write in, but the school still said no, we can't enter you in the ranking. So
because if you are a good student, then you go in, let's say, in an A grade, then you bump down the rest of their students. There is only
also like that, it's the center that enters you. In the scenario that we were in this summer, the center is professionally saying we have evidence that these students were working at these grades, and some teacher or ex-teacher that they don't know saying I've been privately tutoring this student, they can't necessarily take that into account. So I think what happened this year with the private candidates and the fact that they were basically in a position where they couldn't get a grade, I think that will make people think this through more carefully about what could be offered for those sorts of students, because the situation this year was obviously not very fair, because people who've been working hard all year, teacher or no teacher, were unable to justify the grade that they'd been working at. So maybe it'll be different, but I don't rely on somebody, on a school entering you next year should it happen again.
There's one question I do think we need to answer. I've asked it a couple of times and we were getting to it. If we miss our offer by 1 grade and we ring university admissions, what would you suggest we as students say to our prospective universities? I mean, we can't give you a script. I think you need to, first of all, make sure you got your personal statement handy, make sure you're clear on all your attributes so you can argue your case when you give them a ring. But your first question has to be, are there any places left on this course? And if there are, then you need to ask them, right, well, am I able now to get a place? You know, what do I have to do to actually get a place on this course, even though I'm missing out the grade by, you know, say 1? They will either say, yes, we can take a look at it, or they will say no, because they may know that there's students out there in clearing who actually do have those grades. So it's really, really difficult. But, you know, they know you, especially if you went for interview, if you impressed at interview. It's worth asking the questions, but always start with, are there any places left on the course? If there are, just say, look, is there anything I can do in order to kind of grab one of those places, and just go from there. But be prepared with all your attributes so you can kind of sing your own praises and do some convincing. But I think, you know, if you were in that bracket where they were going to let you in, they may have just accepted you anyway, you know, without the phone call, you know. So no, it's a tough one, and you know, each university is going to be asking you different questions. If I could give you a script, I would, but I don't. There isn't one. But just ask if there's any places, and then ask if there's any way you can get one. Simple as that.
And we'll cover that in more detail on Thursday. In fact, if you have any questions for us, you can leave it in the comments, not in the chat, but put it in the comments for this video. Questions about what you need to do in terms of results day action plan. These questions would be a great question to ask us. Then we can just do a bit more digging if there is anything that we don't know, and then we can give it to you. It will be actually called the results day action plan. The title of this live somehow got crossed over, but the wires crossed there, so it will be the results day action plan, which is Wednesday, 6 p.m. in the UK. And we'll cover as many of those questions as we possibly can. So let's just do a quick rundown of those myths or truths, and I'll just do a quick rapid fire. If you want to answer in the chat to show that you were listening, then feel free. So A-level results, the grades that the teachers have submitted to Ofqual, the regulating body, will be marked down a little bit. Is that true or false? Just for the chat, that the grades the teachers submitted will be marked down a little bit. Sophia, straight in there on the D of the bang. Yes, it is true. However, this does not mean you are going to be badly affected. It just means that the teachers' grades that they submitted were overinflated, and they're going to have to scale them down a bit so they're a bit more normal. Good work. Okay, so A-level results, A-level and GCSE results this year are likely to be the highest ever, or higher than normal. True or false? T or F? Hillary, you were first in this time. Absolutely true. We have no definite source on this, but almost certainly the results will be slightly better than normal, because for all the reasons we explained earlier. That you will be able to negotiate or haggle with your university entrance more than normal. I mean, you kind of can to some extent in the normal world, but this one, T-Boy was in there first. Yeah, absolutely true as well. There's going to be lots of fluidity and flexibility through clearing and phone calls, and universities want you there, and they won't let a missed grade here or there get in the way of your £45,000 that you're going to pay them over the next 3 years. So that's a good incentive for them to let you in. You can individually appeal your grade with your school or college or with Ofqual. True or false? Well, I think everyone's been spot on so far. Great work. Yeah, this is false. The school can appeal their entire school results or a subject results, or you can say, oh, actually, you've put me at the bottom of the class when really I should have been at the top of the class. Clerical admin errors can be appealed, but you cannot say, I think I should have got a B and you gave me a C. That doesn't work. So the only way to overcome that is to do the exam yourself in October. UCAS track will be updated at midnight, true or false? Yashmi, also false, correct. Yeah, so it'll be 8 a.m. is when it is updated, and possibly a little bit afterwards. There's a lot of data to load in a short space of time. That you can only look at clearing from Thursday onwards after results day. True or false? That you can only look at the clearing options after results day.
Yeah.
Russ said also false. Totally true. So you can start right now. Check on the UCAS website. You can look at some of the options. It will change and update over time. So keep monitoring it as opposed to just checking it once and then leaving it alone. Clearing Plus is going to be super useful. It will basically use a bit of AI to match you, the things you've applied for and the grades that you've got to suitable courses. So browse a bit of Clearing Plus if you are worried or if you don't get your grades and your insurance. Clearing is just for students, then it's just full of a bunch of crap courses. Totally false. One of the big ones that comes up every single year. There's great courses from great universities through Clearing. It's not anything to be ashamed about to go through Clearing, especially this year. Everything's in turmoil. So check out all your options. And you will have to make a decision on the spot for Clearing. Also false. You have a little bit of time. You don't have forever. You might have to the end of the day. You might have until the end of the week, possibly. Get in touch with the university, and you don't have to just look at it and in 5 minutes make a snap decision on which town or university you're going to be going to. You can do a little bit of research, but obviously places are limited, so there is a time element, but it doesn't have to be infinite. Okay, so I think we've covered most of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. The couple of questions that came up just while you were doing that, Rich. Will medicine be in Clearing? Yes, we were saying before, there's always a few medicine places in Clearing. They're obviously really hard fought for, so make sure you got those lined up if there are any there already. And how do you access Clearing Plus? Well, that just appears. So if you fail to get in the top two choices, then it will just be there, ready and waiting for you. If indeed you want to decline your insurance offer, which would be bonkers because you've thought long and hard about that insurance choice, then you need to decline that, and then you have to wait for your clearing number to come through. Those are the 22 ways you're going to get into Clearing. Okay.
Yeah. Can you get your desired course via Clearing? So it's not going to be one of the course at the university that you'd applied for, almost certainly. But it could be the same course at a different university. It might be a slightly different course at the same university that you applied to. So it won't be the identical course, but it could be the same subject. It could be the same university, or a combination of.
I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone because my live lesson is going to start in a minute. Anybody who is studying maths and is not a TT member, go have a look at it, because over the last few weeks, I've been working with some students going from year 12 to year 13, and we've just been learning the A-level, and we are almost finished. Literally in the next couple of weeks, we're going to finish the whole A-level. So the students that have been working with me over the summer, over the last sort of 7 weeks or so, literally are going to go back in September having learned the entire A-level maths, just so on top of everything. And anybody who wants to join in with that now, I will support you to learn it over the next few weeks, because we've got a nice system where you can learn the whole of the A-level maths super duper quickly. But my lesson starts at 7, so I'm going to say goodbye to you all and go teach some maths.
See you, right. Okay, so a lot of the questions coming through now are just going to be, we can cover on Wednesday. So again, submit me the comments, we'll gather them together. I was wondering if there was one that I was going to pick there, and I can't see it from the list anymore. So anything we haven't answered, shoot it through to us now, or come back on Wednesday and we will then mop up any other questions we haven't covered then.
Yeah, that's it. So we're going to be covering your action plan on Wednesday. So basically you're set for every kind of scenario that you come across, and it's good to have a plan. So, you know, you don't want to be flapping around on results day. But as we were mentioning before, we don't want to scare you guys by talking about clearing a lot. You know, I would say this year, more than any other year, people are going to get either their first or their insurance choices. So You know what, universities want you in, you want to go. It's a match made in heaven. So that's basically, fingers crossed, everything's going to go swimmingly for you on Thursday morning, but we'll see you guys on Wednesday at 6 p.m. where we will not have any technical issues. I'll make sure of that. And we'll give you your action plan and talk through about some of the more detailed aspects of UCAS and track and Clearing Plus and stuff like that. So we will see.
There's been a few questions about memberships and stuff. So that's effectively the live over. I'm just going to do a little walking tour of some of the what's included, what's not included. Any of you got any questions about our memberships, then you can stay on the live and ask me, and we can give you a little bit of a virtual tour, a little walk through. And that way, I know Jamie's got some questions. So I'll share my screen here and I'll just sort of take you to the TT website. But in terms of UCAS and applications and results day, we'll see you on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So see you then. Okay, so if we do just jump into this live over here. Rich, you see my screen on YouTube there?
Yeah, you're up. You're up.
Okay, so it's our homepage. Right now we do
no, you're on the live beta studio, mate.
Well,
That's what we can see.
So it's a different Chrome window. There's one. Let's try that one. I don't get the green line on this monitor. You know, normally when you're screen sharing on Zoom, you get, how's that?
Yeah.
Is that the right one?
That's the right one.
Okay, I've made it not full screen and I can see my green line. Okay, so biology, chemistry, maths. We asked who the tutors are. Well, you've been speaking to us today. So my name's Rich Thompson. I do all the biology stuff here. We've got Rich Warburton, who's joined with us here. He's our chemistry expert. And Ronnie, who's just left to teach our maths class, is our mathematician. If you want to read a bit about us, then you can do that there. What I'm going to do, Rich, you're going to have to feed me questions because I can't view this tab without sharing screen, which is going to get a bit.
No worries, mate.
So I'll just run through, well, let's do biology, seeing as I'm your biology teacher. You can run through, most of the information is here. You can watch the little video from me. You can read some of the bullet points about the course. You can watch a video that sort of gives you what it looks like to be on the inside of one of our memberships. These are the major bits that are included and all the different pricing, and there's some reviews from students, yes, there, and there's FAQs at the bottom. Once you end up inside the course, what I'm going to do is actually I can pause my video and maybe just give you a little walking tour very quickly on the inside of what's included. So you have all of the videos covering all of the spec. So whether that's the math skills, the calculations in chemistry, the practical, the stats, everything you need to know is covered in video format. So that is all done for you. And then you've also got loads more. That's just like the first bit is all the content, essentially. The other bits you've got are all the exam training, all of the exambulance. You've got the live support from us, so you can ask us questions whenever you get stuck on any video, any exam question, or any bit of homework that you're stuck on. You can send us, you get a tutor, you get one of us to support you whenever you need. And as well as this year, we're doing lots of support in terms of UCAS, all the live classes, and just loads and loads of student support. So we're basically, it's a fully involved, interactive course, and yeah, everything that you could possibly need. So from within my biology course here, I've got, this is the content guide. There's 2 courses in each subject. The content guide is to teach you all the content. All the live classes from last year's are currently there. If you want to watch the recordings, you've got all the stat skills, the math skills. If we just pick a typical lesson, you can see these colored dots here. These are our traffic light systems. So you can see how much, how confident you're feeling, red, amber, or green. And let's just go into a lesson here. I'll just pick a random one and we'll go and just take a little look. We're making quite a lot of changes to the course. So you can see up here, this one I've marked as green. If I actually have reviewed this and think, oh, I'm actually a bit less confident now, you can mark it as amber. You have the lesson. Don't miss the template note underneath here. So this is going to give you a note template that you can then follow along the video, complete your notes. You end up with a color-coded like textbook showing you, teaching yourself the course. You've got the spec, and you can ask questions about absolutely any bit and read anyone else's questions down here. If you then want to practice some exam questions, it's a bit of a, we'll go over here, and then you can view some exam questions. In fact, we're changing quite a lot of the layout on this right now, but you can find questions by topic super easily. So here we're in gas exchange, and if you want to look at insects and fish, this is the AQA course, for example. Any subtopic you can find questions for super duper quickly. So you've got all the different topics of this and the skills. And if you actually think, oh, I need to go back and look at what forced exploration means, you can go back and look at the lesson. There's basically, it's all linked up to support you with learning the content, learning the exams, helping you with your homework, and providing a structure and community with other TT students to help you learn the course, essentially. So now I can go back and look at the chat and see if there was any other questions there.
No, I was just chatting about, they were asking about the Exambulance. Jamie was saying it looks really, really good. The free trial.
And well, on that note, you can try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a 7-day free trial. Okay, you can cancel it anytime you want. But after the 7 days, then you do take over into a paid subscription, just like anything else that you come across online, like Spotify or Netflix or anything like that. But you